Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there was a kind and beautiful girl named Cinderella. She lived with her wicked stepmother and two stepsisters who treated her very badly. Cinderella's father had died when she was young, and her stepmother was cruel and only cared about her own daughters. Cinderella's stepmother made her do all the housework. She cooked, cleaned, and cared for the house from morning to night, while her stepsisters wore fine clothes and enjoyed themselves. They were jealous of Cinderella's beauty and kindness, so they always found ways to make her life difficult. Despite everything, Cinderella remained kind and hopeful. She believed that someday her dreams of happiness would come true. In the evenings, after her chores were done, she would sit by the fireplace wearing old, dirty clothes and covered in ashes from the hearth. Because of this, her stepsisters mockingly called her Cinderella. One day, news came that the king was hosting a grand ball at the palace. The prince, who was looking for a bride, would be there, and every young woman in the kingdom was invited. Cinderella's stepsisters were very excited. They talked non-stop about the dresses they would wear and how one of them would surely marry the prince. Cinderella longed to go to the ball too, but her stepmother laughed at the idea. Her stepmother sneered, "You can't go to the ball. You have no proper dress, no jewels, no way to travel. Besides, who would want to dance with a dirty girl like you?" Cinderella felt sad, but she did not lose hope. She helped her stepsisters prepare for the ball, brushing their hair and helping them into their fine gowns. On the day of the ball, her stepmother and stepsisters left for the palace, leaving Cinderella behind. She sat by the fire, crying softly. Suddenly, a soft light filled the room. When Cinderella looked up, she saw a kind-looking woman standing before her. The woman was holding a shining wand and had a warm smile on her face. "Don't cry, my dear," the woman said. "I am your fairy godmother, and I am here to help you." Cinderella was amazed.
"Help me,"
she asked. "But how?" "With a little magic, of course," the fairy godmother replied. She waved her wand, and immediately a pumpkin from the garden turned into a beautiful golden carriage. 6 mice from the house became splendid white horses, and a large rat was transformed into a coachman. Next, the fairy godmother waved her wand over Cinderella. Her old rags turned into a magnificent gown of silver and gold. "Oh, thank you, fairy godmother," she cried. "I can go to the ball now." "Yes, but remember," said the fairy godmother, "this magic will only last until midnight. You must leave the palace before the clock strikes 12, or everything will return to what it was before." Cinderella nodded and promised to remember. Then she climbed into the carriage and set off for the palace. When she arrived at the ball, everyone was struck by her beauty. No one, not even her stepsisters, recognized her. The prince noticed her the moment she entered the room. He was captivated by her grace and charm, and he asked her to dance. Cinderella and the prince danced together all night. She was so happy that she almost forgot about the time. But as the clock began to strike midnight, Cinderella suddenly remembered her fairy godmother's warning. "I must go," she cried, and ran from the palace as fast as she could. The prince called after her, but she didn't stop. In her haste, one of her glass slippers fell off, but Cinderella didn't have time to go back for it. She hurried down the stairs, out of the palace, and into her carriage. Just as the clock struck 12, the magic ended. The carriage turned back into a pumpkin, the horses into mice, and Cinderella's beautiful gown became old rags once again. All that remained from her magical night was the single glass slipper she still held in her hand. The next day, the prince could think of nothing but the beautiful girl he had danced with. He searched the palace, but she was nowhere to be found. All that was left of her was the glass slipper she had lost. The prince was determined to find her. He ordered his servants to take the glass slipper to every house in the kingdom. "The girl whose foot fits this slipper," he said, "will be the one I marry." The servants traveled far and wide, visiting every house. Many young women tried to fit their feet into the slipper, but it was always either too big or too small. Finally, the servants came to Cinderella's house. Her stepsisters rushed to try on the slipper, but no matter how hard they squeezed, their feet were far too large. Cinderella watched silently, but just as the servants were about to leave, she asked if she might try on the slipper. The stepsisters and their mother laughed cruelly. "You," they scoffed. "There,